Gary, having three children of my own, they're in their 20s now, very interested in EFT, and I know my son's thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you in California over our lunch. But can you explain now to anyone listening to this how EFT can help children? And obviously, the younger, I guess, you can help them, the better.
Absolutely, yeah. There is one favorite tool that I like. In fact, it's on our website. Using EFT for children. Imagine this: a young child, 2 years old, 3 years old, whatever. When they're going through their day, they have their own little emotional traumas. Maybe they go to school when they're age 5, 6, 7, 8, this kind of thing, and somebody teases them or they get rejected someplace, and so their day, just like adults, have emotional baggage that keeps piling on. Imagine what would happen every night when you tucked a child in bed and you would say to them, well, what happened today that maybe you didn't like? Oh, Johnny did this, and oh, I was afraid of that, and I saw this thing on television that scared me, and whatever. And while they're saying that, just very gently tap on the energy meridians while they're doing it, while they're talking about it. That means they're tuned into their issue that causes these energy disruptions. And while they're doing that, you're sitting there tapping and you are doing something substantial with that particular little bit of trauma. So instead of having it, or trauma, anger, whatever the case, emotional issue, and instead of having those things build over time, you're
Mm.
taking care of them right at the beginning. Okay.
Well, I love that. I think every parent should be listening to this because I think just about every parent goes through a worry of their children at school and bullying. The number of people I see in my work that have hung on to the trauma of being bullied at school. So can you just talk a bit about if anyone's got children there that are being bullied, is that exactly the same process as they're
Oh yeah, and and the process that I just told you about is not a sophisticated use of EFT. It is
right?
a common sense, practical use. Does it get to every little piece of the emotional issue? No, but does it take the edge off and does it take the centerpiece out of lots of it? Yes, and it's very simple to do. And the child, by the way, if they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, in this age, they're not able to really get down to the specific events involved and all the details of the memories and the psychotherapy bit of it. They don't have enough maturity yet. Okay. But for the bullying issue, yes, you can just simply have the child say, sit down with the child and say, well, okay, so you were bullied today. How'd that make you feel? Oh, when Johnny did this, I did, and start tapping about that. That also will take the centerpiece out of it. Does it get every little piece? No. Chances are you've got to dig more into it. But does it take a lot out of it? Yes, absolutely. And should it be done instead of nothing? Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine being able to grow up so free of all of these things that you've now taken for granted over time. You know. So
And I
yes,
freedom is the word there, isn't it? To feel free. That's what
yeah,
I try and say to everyone. When we can just let go of all these past traumas and fears and worries and doubts and, upsets, the earlier we can get to people, the better. And to live a life of freedom. That's how I feel. I never thought I
yeah.
could ever feel free and happy again. And it's quite incredible.
Yeah, all this stuff, all this baggage we collect over time, I mean, it builds and we just sort of get used to it and we sort of sweep it under the rug, or one of my phrases is, it seethes under the surface, in a way that we don't realize how it affects our personality, our choices, our decisions, our
Behavior,
conversations. What was the term?
our behavior,
Behavior,
how,
yes.
yeah.
One more thing about children before we cut this out. That has the whole idea of learning and learning problems. Now, a lot of times children will go to school and they have been so traumatized at home for various things, parents don't get along, they argue, sometimes they abuse the children and so on. So when they go to school, they're not in a mental place to sit there and start soaking up mathematics and English and whatever. It's just they got too much going on. So counseling with those children, EFT with those children, is going to help them learn better because there's less competition mentally, for the learning process. And if they have a more recognizable learning disability, such as dyslexia, reversing letters and numbers and this kind of thing. I've taken care of dyslexia sometimes in a session or two, and the dyslexia never occurs again. And if you can imagine somebody with dyslexia having to read something 4 and 5 times to understand it, now they can only read it once to understand it. That is not only freedom, that's a self-image issue that gives you great release, because if you go through life, you think you're dumb because you've got to read things 5 times.
Marvelous confidence,
Yeah.
absolutely, and self-worth and your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of things about that, and the more you learn about EFT, the more you can see that you can do with it. So
Yeah, wonderful. I love it. Thank you for that, Gary.